from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased joining me. He's currently in Istanbul, Shehab Beram. Shehab, the way I love to do it, as I was telling you before we started, is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit more about your background, your journey, and what you are currently up to. So the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mehmet. So currently I'm the founder of VisionX, the first personal branding studio for product leaders. I'm also a senior product manager with Mrsool. If you guys don't know about Mrsool, it's a food delivery app and turning to be a super app soon. I'm managing the payment squad as well as the M4B squad, Mrsool for Business, where we help merchants basically operate in a more efficient way. Before Mrsool, I was a product manager with Qawafel. It was like a B2B marketplace connecting manufacturers with retailers. We also built something called Qawafel Premium. This is something I personally led, and it was more of like introducing some sort of like new revenue stream for Qawafel. I would call it SaaS revenue stream, where manufacturers basically subscribe to get access to tools that help them streamline their work, like basically managing their team members, managing their sales happening inside of Qawafel and outside of Qawafel. So it was something that increased Qawafel's revenue by almost like 25%, I guess. When I left, it was around 26, 27 at that week, by the way. Before Qawafel, I was also a product manager with Taker. Taker is Shopify for restaurants. It's more of like a way for restaurants to get their own personalized sales channel instead of just always contracting food delivery apps like Mrsool, Hunger Station, Kareem, etc. I was managing the marketing services vertical there, where restaurants can basically run discounts, campaigns, automated marketing, basically also campaigns, and analyzing the data and the performance of their marketing campaigns. Before Taker, I was actually residing in Malaysia. I lived in Malaysia for almost 8 years there. I worked with 2 companies as an associate product manager, as well as a product designer. And I was working there with a bunch of like research labs, specifically talking design research labs, where we did a lot of UX research there, because I had in mind the goal of like always being a product manager. So I wanted to experience different functions as well as like doing the actual work myself. Because as you know, Mehmet, product managers don't do the actual work, they are like the orchestra conductors. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to work on different functions before jumping into being a product manager, because I wanted to understand my team and I wanted to have the actual knowledge of building products. So learning how to do the design, doing coding, as well as like doing actual research on users with your design labs was something I always gave value to. So I published multiple research papers when I was in Malaysia. And basically, I decided one day that, hey guys, I'm just leaving the whole research journey and I'm just leaving Malaysia and I'm going to Istanbul. So I moved to Istanbul with my family and I started my journey officially in product management, again, in the MENA region. Basically starting with Taker and now I ended up with Mrsool. Currently, what I'm doing also is I'm consulting startups on BLG strategies and as well as like product discovery strategies. So I work with 2 startups now, a startup called HackTrack, which is basically a cybersecurity startup. And I'm working with another startup that I firmly believe in. It's called QMOS, which is an operating system for accelerators as well as incubators, So it's more of like we're thinking of how we can digitalize the value stream for accelerators as well as incubators, what kind of like tasks they have, repetitive tasks, how can we allow them to track the performance of their startups in the future, after the graduation from accelerators as well as incubators? How can we make this easier through the product that they are building now, How can we turn it from just basically a product where they store the data into a product where they can even track the data in the future, as well as having a sort of like active portfolio that they are tracking on weekly or monthly basis, depends on the time they pick.
Great. But what a fantastic journey, Shihab. Really, it's it's a rich journey, and I'm a little bit biased because maybe I repeated on the show multiple times. So I'm biased towards product managers. I was lucky in previous lives when I used to sit on a technical consultant within startups, and in smaller environments you get access to the PMs, as you know. So these guys, are my favorite, my heroes, because the ones who are always on the ground, willing to help, and they understand kind of the business requirements, plus they can go and talk to the developers, designers, and so on. So I enjoy to be in that space also as well. And again, thank you for being here with me today. So to kick things, I would say, I would like first, from product management perspective, and if you can tailor that a little bit to our MENA region, because part of the things that we are trying to do with this podcast is also to get I'm a big believer, Shihab, in, yeah, of course, there is like something which is global, like everyone do the things in a way. But when it comes to things that touch business and, especially in product management, so I believe there are some different ways for doing, for example, product discovery, talking to people, which are probably different than the way it is done maybe in other parts of the world. So I want from you to explain to us like a little bit the process, that usually as a product manager you go and do, from ideation all the way till we have, let's say, the first version, and then we have like some traction with users or customers if it's a B2C product.
Lovely. So first, Mehmet, let's agree that product management here in the MENA region is still developing. Now, like lately, many companies started to realize the importance of having a strong product team, However, many companies, they do have the common challenge of operating in a sort of like sales-led mindset, or feature factory mindset, focusing more on just building features, shipping features out, making sure that they have successful launches. And the definition they have for successful launches is just a feature in production, and that's a common challenge I face as a product manager here in the MENA region. Because when you join a company, they think that you're a project manager and your only work is to basically ship out multiple user stories and get them into production. Now, when you're joining as a product manager in a company, the first thing that I'm doing is I try to change the perspective of this basically situation, So instead of you seeing me as a project manager and my role is just to ship out multiple features, no, you need to basically understand that I'm here to ship value. I'm here to solve user problems, and I'm here to even introduce value to your business, which is basically value like revenue, for example, or maybe like owning other critical metrics like retention, activation, etc. So that's the first thing I face. Now, when you overcome this challenge and you basically solve it and you kind of like shift this mindset slightly, then the actual work of BM starts. How I take it from ideation to market goes through a very simple process. And that process is something I tried to build to myself early in my product days. And what I do is typically I try to do problem discovery. So instead of like getting the solution from someone and getting a feature request, for example, or I have a feature on my backlog, I start with understanding what problem does it solve. Is it just a fancy feature that we want to build, or is it something that solves an actual problem for our users? So it just starts with a very simple question. Does it solve a problem? If the answer is yes, then I take it into the further step. If the answer is no, then I just leave it and move it to the bottom of the backlog, Again, that's something collaborative I do with my product team, but that's the general framework of saying that, hey, is this a problem that worth further discovering or not? If it is a problem, it's going to introduce a sort of value, and then I run into analyzing the data of this problem. So do we really have a problem? So I basically check my product dashboards. I also talk with customers, and I have basically this sweet spot of talking with 7 customers, to understand if they face this problem, Now, like, let's take Mrsool, for example. We were paying Mrsool wallet, we were actually developing Mrsool wallet. Mrsool wallet is just a payment method for customers to use their coupons, So if they have, like, let's say, marketing coupons, unused marketing coupons, or any sort of compensation, they can utilize Mrsool wallet to just go and pay their order, So initially what I did was, like, I analyzed this problem, found out that this problem is worth solving because Mrsool had around more than X number of, like, million reals, laying down there, without being utilized. So I went to the customers, grouped them into different segments, and talked with them, like, well, what do you think if you can basically pay your order using this credit that you have in your account, instead of just basically having this credit as a discount and limited to just basically running it in a discount mode and not in the payment mode. And just got basically a sense of, like, what customers do think about it. Once I have a validation of this problem, just basically go and present it. Sometimes you don't even need to present it. It's a go for them. You just need to go and build a user story around it and pass it to your engineers. But when you present it to your team, the thing happens is that you're creating some sort of, like, shared understanding of the problem as well as shared understanding of the solution. Because as a product manager, your role is not to just ship out features, but also to kind of, like, create some sort of, like, shared understanding, data and insights that they can use even to empower their work. For example, when you share data, marketing team can also make use of this data. The executives team can also make use of this data and these insights because they desperately need it, and they don't have the real people or the talent to empower them with data and insights sometimes, unless they ask for it. Now, when you have a problem, you move into the solution state. When you move to the solution state, what I typically do is I don't ideate the solution myself. And that's one of the misunderstanding of product management I was actually trapped in before almost 2 years ago. I thought that, hey, if there is a problem, I just basically go write the solution myself, scope the solution, work on the wireframes, and I own the solution. No one else can have a say around the solution. Turns out that I was wrong. The solution is a sort of, like, shared basically artifact between everyone in the team, and specifically saying the product team. So I just go and ideate. I use a workshop from Intuit called Deep Customer Solution. And basically it helps me, like, align with my team and try to ideate some sort of solution. Once we have a solution, I work with engineers closely to build the solution. But now the real and actual product management happens here, which is basically understanding how you can launch it, the art of launching a product, So what you want to be doing is you want to just craft a plan on how you're going to be launching it, what kind of, like, stages you want to roll out this features in, and how you're gonna be basically positioning it into the market, because now other brands and other competitors do have such features. So how can you position it? How can you tell your customers that, hey, Mrsool built this feature and it's different from other competitors? That's one of the things that you want to be thinking of. And it doesn't stop there where you just write a bunch of text and have a plan. You need to align with your marketing team, And again, one of the problems I face here in the MENA region is not having a product marketing management team. So basically you need to do the whole product marketing management here yourself, thinking about the positioning, thinking about the messaging, and how you can basically pass this feature into the market and make sure that it has its reserve and its place and the sweet spot in the market. Once you launch the feature, then you need to iterate. And when I say iterate, it doesn't stop in basically solving a bunch of bugs, or just asking your customers, what do you think about it? There is a whole science behind iterating here. What you need to do is basically just build a bunch of dashboards, understand your numbers, understand what kind of numbers you affected with this feature, understand the feature specific numbers. For example, the adoption for this feature, you want to understand if there's a drop, you want to understand the usage here, and again, you want to share insights with your team, because you don't just ship out features. What you want to be doing is you want to be sharing insights and empowering them with data. The more you empower them with data, the more you basically have more common understanding, and the more your trust bar, I would say, increases. So once you iterate, then you pretty much move on, and you don't move on again after iteration, but you move on after launching this feature, but you need to have a sort of like reserved spot for this feature to do the analysis and iteration. So that's pretty much how I process the things from ideation into building. It's just basically ensuring that the resources are well put into the right problem, as well as it's not stopped after launching. It's something I can get insights out of, and it's something I can stand out with by actually building.
Yeah, great. Now, a couple of things, just, maybe we can chat quickly about it. And I didn't plan for asking these questions, but I think it's important to highlight. Now, you mentioned something about, two things. So the first is, do you think the culture of having a product manager is still not very much adopted here in the region, Shehab?
Having a product manager is well adopted, but the actual function of a product manager is not well adopted here in the MENA, So I found like literally, Mehmet, pre-seed startups are hiring for BMs here in the MENA, specifically in Saudi, They see that having a product manager is something that is cool, and a product manager can help them ship out features faster, but they don't understand the actual value of a product manager. So they just want to have a product manager for the sake of having a product manager, for the sake of having someone to work with a technical team and not doing the actual business with them.
So very good, because this was my next question for you, Shehab. In general, whether it's MENA region or in general, when is the right time to have a product manager, and I put it between quotes, not a project manager, because I agree 100% with you. A product manager is not a project manager. Maybe one of the tasks, yes, they have to put the sprints, and then they have to do the stand-ups every day and all this stuff. But when is it the right time? And because you mentioned about pre-seed, so when is the right time to do this?
Lovely. So let me first talk about the point of a product manager can do project management. I have this saying of every product manager is a project manager, but not every project manager is a product manager, So it's something you'll be doing a lot in terms of like managing the sprints, as well as like talking with your developers. Now, the right time of having a product manager, it depends on the company goals, So if you are like in a pre-product market fit company, you lack basically with discovering the right problems, working on the right solutions and running effective experiments, then that's the right time for you to have a product manager. But there are actually companies with talented founders who excel with just basically building out a bunch of experiments and finding the sweet spot that their product lies on, So they don't need a product manager at that stage. Why? Because they can run effective experiments, and now they are moving quickly, and they don't need someone to basically have another say, or another cook in the kitchen. So that's not the right time for them to have a product manager. However, in general, after reaching the product market fit, it's the perfect time for me to have a product manager. Why? Because the product manager now can help the company streamline things up, as well as basically help them with the product ops process. So a product manager, after reaching the product market fit, can help the company save some costs, increase multiple metrics, based on the experiments that the product manager will be running, and based on the business work that the product manager will be doing, So if you are a pre-product market fit company, you need to evaluate yourself. Are we moving fast? Are we running effective experiments? If the answer is yes, then you don't need a product manager. Now, if you are both product market fit and you already found that sweet spot in the market, then you need a product manager. Why? Because now a product manager can come and optimize your metrics and help build your product further and scale it.
And I think this is, from my humble knowledge, Shihab, like this is where we start to call this startup. They start to become into a growth mode because now they need to acquire more customers. So their ICP, maybe they had a niche, they had specific, early adopters, and now they need to go after the bigger market. And now they need someone to help them in coming and putting these features and whatever is required for the product to become like more mature, to come and put this into the plan. So makes a lot of sense. Another thing you mentioned, and again I related to another question, so it's kind of a little bit stuffed question, and sorry for that.
Sure.
You talked about the lack of product marketing, and again, product marketing for me, and I work for me. My experience is B2B, just for the sake of the audience, and I repeated this. So, but again, I think product marketing is something very important, and this is where I feel, maybe I'm mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shihab. So nowadays, what we are seeing in the startups, because there are two mainstream. So there's the product led growth and there's the sales led growth, right? So
Correct.
and I think this is where maybe the founders, the executive teams are not getting this, and I see them doing things which are wrong sometimes because they're not getting things in order. So from your perspective, let's categorize it first, if you want. Let's categorize it like when we should call it a product-led growth or sales-led growth, PLG and SLG as they are called, and then which one fits a certain strategy from a product management perspective. So I know it's a long question, but I know like you can enlighten us on this.
Lovely. So firstly, let's basically differentiate between product-led growth and sales-led growth. If you find yourself hiring a big sales team, aka what we call them in the MENA region, account managers, B2B companies, B2C companies, I've seen this a lot. Just having tons of account managers, whenever there is a new feature, they ask you, hey, product manager, go talk with the account managers. They will help you with launching this feature by calling the customers manually, So you're operating a sales-led company. Why? Because you're spending tons of resources and your growth depends only on having a bigger account managers and bigger sales teams. Now, when we are talking about product-led companies are basically companies in which the product is the main drive behind the acquisition, the retention, as well as any sort of like another critical metric that they are tracking. For example, we can talk about revenue here. So for example, now let's talk about Mrsool. Mrsool can be considered as a sales-led company. Why? Because from the merchant side of things, we do have account managers, and we cannot grow without account managers because account managers do onboard new customers. They do onboard new restaurants, they help restaurants with issues, solve their issues, as well as like basically sell their products. They call the customers manually and they tell them, hey, what do you think of if you want to run a discount or if you want to join a campaign, So everything is done from the account management team. Now, if there's no account management team in Mrsool cannot operate successfully. Why? Because now merchants cannot sign up automatically into the platform. They cannot have new accounts into the platform. They don't have any sort of like automated verification around that thing. Now, if a product-led company comes into place, what will happen is a product-led company will be reducing the costs, So I'm not going to have a big account management team. Of course, I need some account managers to run basically the basic business functions. However, if I do have the product-led model here, I want to be having this sort of like setting in which like if I want to grow, I need to hire more account managers to manage more clients as well as like to help onboard more clients, So that's the thing. There is a sweet spot between them that is called product-led sales. And when we're talking about product-led sales, it's basically empowering the sales team with a product or with the product. For example, in Mrsool context, what could happen is I allow the merchants to sign up. I run basically effective ads, for example, and I build a good SEO around Mrsool. And then basically when there is a restaurant that signs up, I allow them to do the sign up themselves instead of relying on the account managers. And then once there is a successful sign up, I let the account managers know that, hey guys, there is a successful sign up. And I give a choice to the customer if they want to have a call or not. This will reduce the number of daily calls that the account managers will be receiving, thus reducing the costs on Mrsool. So this is a sweet spot between both models, product-led and sales-led. Now, going back to the first or to the beginning of your question, Mehmet, of product marketing management, let's talk about it first and then how it fits into both of these models.
Sure.
So product marketing management is just basically the science behind how you launch a successful product. How can you onboard it to the market? So instead of, for example, if we recap the example that we talked about in Mrsool, which is having a sort of launch checklist as well as launching the product into the market, that's something that should be owned by a product marketing manager. And so the product marketing manager will work closely with the product manager to understand what is the actual thing that we are solving. What is basically the positioning of this new feature, aka Mrsool Wallet? How can we position it into the market? What makes it a standout amongst the other competitors? Why Mrsool's wallet specifically is something that might outperform the other competitors, and who are the targeted segments? Because Mrsool Wallet is again for all Mrsool buyers, but there is a target segment that will benefit the most from Mrsool Wallet. Now, after we understand everything here, the product marketing manager will be crafting 3 main artifacts. Artifact number 1, it's going to be basically the launch plan. Artifact number 2, it's going to be basically, again, every single marketing material, to help launch this product. For example, if there is any sort of social media posts, if there is any sort of in-app onboarding, and that's something, again, we don't have a lot in the MENA region. If there is any sort of in-app, let's say pop-up or in-app message, if there is maybe, let's say, a push notification to be sent to the customers, And then lastly, the product marketing manager will be working closely with the product team to produce the final artifact, which is having a sort of dashboard to track the market. However, the product marketing manager will be focusing more into the usage dashboard of the feature itself and not the overall matrix of the business, post launching this feature. Now, here's the thing. If you are in a product, or let's talk first about the sales-led companies, you don't need a product marketing manager because the companies there by default are relying on the account managers. So if you're launching a new feature, you need to go and talk with your account managers, Now, if I'm launching a new features for merchants in Mrsool, I cannot tell the merchants that, hey guys, here is a new feature for you. I need to go and talk with the account managers, a team of around 300 people, and tell them that, hey guys, there is this new feature. It solves X, Y, and Z. Go and talk with your clients and tell them that Mrsool is introducing a new feature. Now, if you are in a product-led company where the mindset is different, you need a product marketing manager, because a product marketing manager will be helping the product team or the product manager to just work on how can we onboard these customers successfully. If there is any sort of tutorial that we need to build, if there is any sort of video or article that we need to produce, it just in general, the BMM helps the BM think of the end customer from a perspective that I don't know how to use this feature. Basically, you need to explain it to me in simple words, So the BMM will be basically thinking of ways, how can we explain this feature, let them know that this feature is available in the simplest way possible.
This is very enriching, I would say, Shehab, because from my also chat with the folks here in the MENA region, I think, there's a lot of work to be done in this space. And honestly, to be fair, I don't want to be hammering the MENA region. Even when I talk to people even in the US, sometimes I feel the same thing. And it all looks to me, from this dilemma of the founders. And again, I'm not hammering founders. Everyone knows how much I'm, I have empathy towards every founder, whatever ideas they have. But, it's accepting, the market dynamics. And you are in product management, Shihab, and I think you understand it better than anyone else, which is, we need to find this, to your point, this balance between the sales led growth and the product led growth, or what you call like product led sales, right? So um and it's becoming like a little bit a noisy world, and like there's a lot of
Correct.
competitions over there regarding the same area. And this is where I wanted to relate to the next one. So from product management perspective, anything you do or you advise maybe the executive team about the competitive landscape, like, guys, we've seen like one of our competitors, they included this, we think we should be doing that? Or is it like something which doesn't fall under the product manager usually?
So competitive analysis does fall under the BM belt, You need to actually talk with your executives and let them know about the performance of their competitors. Now, if you know ClickUp is a project management tool. They do have a team that is called Competitive Intelligence Team. It's a team of 3 people. 3 people are just helping the executives understand the competitors' landscape. What kind of new features, how they launch their marketing materials. How they're onboarding new customers. Any new strategies they included, any change in their messaging and their positioning. So it's a team dedicated to producing one report a week, and this report is spread to the executives, their product teams, as well as even the design teams there. So it's a brilliant thing. We haven't adopted that, unfortunately, in the MENA region yet. Now, again, is this something as a product manager you need to own? Definitely, Mehmet. Definitely you need to own the competitive analysis. Now, does the competitive analysis or should the competitive analysis be the main drive behind your decisions as a product manager? The answer is no. Competitors out there are just for the sake of not even benchmarking, for me personally, just for the sake of getting some sort of inspiration, understand their strategies, what they do, how they operate in the market. And then based on these insights you gathered, you need to do the work your own way. Why? Because you're there to solve problems, not to copy competitors. Now, there is this term that we use in product management, which is a copycat PM. A copycat PM, which is basically a PM who is like, hey guys, the competitor introduced feature X. Let's go and introduce this feature here in our platform. However, you might think that that competitor is my main competitor or it's a direct competitor, but turns out that they do have different customers. They serve different segment, Now, if you go and build that feature and you spend technical resources on that feature, you'll end up failing. Why? Because you spent resources on something that doesn't add value to your customers and it doesn't solve any sort of problem, So what a product manager should do is they should own the competitive analysis, but be mindful about it. Share some insights, get some sort of like actionable work to be done. However, don't just rely on it as a decision-making framework. Your decision-making framework should be a sort of like umbrella that falls under different components. One component should be, again, your competitors. Another component should be your users in which you want to be talking with. Another component should be your context, your business context in general, your environmental context, your organizational context. Now, that together will serve as a sort of like decision-making framework for you. However, I don't recommend like just looking into competitors and thinking that, hey, let me just go tell the executive that this is something that is happening now in the market. Let's do it.
Yeah, just also from my side to what I have seen in companies that I work with. So the competitive intelligence team, but they crossed the startup mark. They were a scale up at that time. So it's a separate team, to your point, but of course they work very closely with the product management team. And yeah, so their main mission is actually to empower. So two things. So first, they give insights to product management and the executive teams of what's happening outside. But for example, us who were the people in the field, because like you go to customer and the customer say, hey, like your competitor has this feature, and then you're not empowered. For example, oh, I didn't know because they told us like they don't have this. So their mission is always to keep what people loves to call battle card. I don't like them, by the way, between product X and product Y, up to date. But yeah, I'm not saying they are not valuable, but to your point, yeah, so they play a major role. Now you mentioned something which is actually, I'm liking the way we are doing this into this flow around, like adopting something, maybe if because of a competitor did it, but it's valuable, or maybe it's a trend in the market or something that the market needs. And now everyone talks about AI, Shihab, right? So everyone want AI powered things. Now, from product management perspective, I'm sure that there's a balance between the pressure of also having this stack or this, I don't know, set of features, and at the same time being mindful that, okay, yeah, we can have this, but two things: do we have the capacity and time to go and implement that now and prioritize it? And the second thing, like, is it really needed? Like, will it add any value? So how do you manage this, and what you have seen the best practice to manage these two pressuring components, I would say, on product teams?
So the bad thing I found after the release of ChatGPT Mehmet is that 80% of the founders, at least the founders I work with, once they started the adoption of, or once they started to observe the adoption of ChatGPT, they told their teams that, guys, let's build a sort of like AI around our products, And unfortunately, most of these products are just basically generative AI, so they just integrate with ChatGPT and get the customer to chat with it inside of the product, So they're solving no problem. There is a food delivery app in Southeast Asia where they introduced AI inside of their product. And what it did was, if you are like a buyer, you just go and chat with ChatGPT inside of that product, and ChatGPT can recommend some sort of like recipes to you, and then you can buy the ingredients from that store or from the store hosted in their food delivery app. Now, does that really solve a problem for customers? The answer is no. It might solve, again, problems to their segment. However, if we reflect the problem into our market, and based on my understanding of the food delivery market, it doesn't solve any sort of problem. And I read some reports after they released that feature, and it turns out it solved nothing. So managing the pressure comes down into asking one question: does having this sort of AI in our product solve a real customer problem? If yes, then what is this problem, and can we solve it cheaply or not? Why? Because some BMs now are going into this fancy thing of like naming or titling themselves as AI product managers, Personally, I found some BMs who built like a very simple integration with ChatGPT feature, and then they went to LinkedIn and changed their title into AI product managers, So BMs sometimes do support executives on building these sort of features so they can talk about it in their future opportunities, saying that, hey guys, I built like a sort of like AI feature, and that feature was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, without mentioning explicitly what kind of matrix that did it basically optimize, So again, if you really want to do AI in your product, you need to ask yourself two critical questions. Does it solve a problem? If the answer is yes, then can we solve the problem in a cheaper manner? If the answer is no, then please skip it. You don't need AI, because the end customer doesn't care about AI. It does care about the problem being solved. Now, ChatGPT for us, some of the people, when they browse ChatGPT and talk with ChatGPT, they don't even think that ChatGPT is AI, specifically here, the older generations, Why? Because ChatGPT is serving them. ChatGPT is solving a problem for them. Now, people don't care if ChatGPT is an AI or basically a simple model, that is built manually. Now, if you want to integrate ChatGPT into your product, again, here is the critical question that you want to ask. Is this something worth building? Because the whole development thing is going to be super expensive.
This reminded me pretty much, actually, just appeared in my, this video keeps appearing in front of, I think, many of us, where someone asked Steve Jobs about, and he was, coming new back to Apple, and he asked about, hey, like, what are you thinking about Java and like some of these internet programming languages? And, his famous answer, like, actually, we need to be thinking in the other way. We need to see like what the customer needs first, what's their problems, and then build solutions for that. Like, and I'm sure at that time, Apple had a lot of technologies that their engineers were playing with, but they didn't build, something that no one would buy it or no one would need it. And I always refer this, and I think from product management perspective, this is, to me, I give the example of maybe Apple a lot on the podcast, but because I believe they have done it the best way. Maybe not at the moment, but at certain times they were the best ones doing it the right way. And here is the thing: this is something I need to tell also the audience, and maybe you will agree with me, Shihab. Like, sometimes to convey that you are solving an actual real problem, you need to do two things. You need to first tell your audience that actually they are having a problem today, because maybe they are not aware that there's a problem. Like, if I think about, again, Apple iPod, no one thought, oh, I'm carrying with me a box like this, having a tape inside wherever I go. So, and this is, I'm relating to the second point. And Steve Jobs did it in a very storytelling way, where he said, see, like, this is why I have this small pocket here. When they even get the iPod Mini, I mean, we need to put the customer experience first. This is something I'm a big believer in. So, and yeah, great insights from you, Shihab. Thank you for mentioning this. Now,
and what you mentioned now is user centricity, and it's one of the critical components a BM should have. If a BM is not user centric, then unfortunately this BM is a feature factory, I call it.
Yeah. Now, one thing, from PM perspective, I'm not sure how you think about it, but I would love to have your general view also as well. Maybe from as Shihab yourself, and from maybe product management perspective. The MENA region currently is a very active region. Like, we've seen a lot of things happening in Saudi, we've seen a lot of things happening in UAE, even in some other countries that they started to pick up. On the whole MENA region, Egypt is a rising star, in my opinion. I can keep going on, and Africa also, by the way, it's a monster by itself. But are you seeing us becoming a place that really we can claim that we can compete with the other startup hubs across the globe? And mentioning, of course, Silicon Valley, London, Singapore, If not, what we are still missing, Shihab, both from, I need to hear your opinion from both Shihab as you and from product management perspective.
Lovely. So I think there is a huge opportunity for us being the next Silicon Valley, and when I say huge, I mean super, super huge opportunity to reach into that stage. Now, what we are missing, in my opinion, is the global thinking, Mehmet. We are building products to serve our local customers. We're not building products to serve the global audience. So if I ask you, name for me products that scaled globally, or even, let's say, SaaS products that got some sort of customers from the West and customers from out of the MENA region, we can mention up to like 10 products or 15 products, no more than that, unfortunately, Why? Because we are missing the global thinking. We are missing the component in which we need to zoom out and think globally, Companies here operate for 15 and 20 years, super profitable, but they don't think globally. Why? Because they're just focusing on their local customers and focusing on the monetization of such segment, and they're missing the bigger opportunity. That's the critical thing that we are missing, And why we are missing the global thinking is because of the way how we are thinking about startups. We were brought into the world and thinking that if you're building a startup, you need to focus on a small niche, and never exit that niche, and you need to solve that problem for that specific segment, and not thinking about other segments. except if you want to lose the opportunity, Now, when startups succeeded with that specific segment, they always thought, hey, if I leave that segment and I zoom out and I think globally, I'm gonna be failing, So it's a sort of like mindset thing. If we were to change that, if we want to really compete with Silicon Valley, we need that component of global thinking to be present, How can I, once I reach the product market fit, I can scale, Something that was done successfully was by, I guess the name of the startup was Swivel. So Swivel started from Egypt, then scaled to UAE, and scaled to Pakistan, India, multiple countries, and then succeeded to some point, and then started to go down the road. Now, why? Because they kept having a sort of like huge burning ratio, but that's something we don't want to discuss now. However, they thought globally. Now, that's the kind of like mindset we need to have. Now, from product management perspective, what I really and firmly believe in, Mehmet, is that BM should help with the global thinking, If you're a BM and you're just executing and you're just a feature factory and focusing continuously on churning out features without properly measuring the impact of the value of these features, or without properly even thinking and giving the thought of these features, then you're not helping out. A BM should be churning out features, should be building impactful features, as well as zooming out and sharing continuously sort of like proposals to their executives, what kind of new markets we can enter, what kind of new opportunities we can have, So as a BM, you should have this sort of like chops of what if we do X, what if we do Y, and how can we reach to new heights and new levels as a company.
Fantastic. You just hit the nail on the head, as they say. I just want to add two things to your point. You're 100% right. We think local, not global. And I think founders, and this is my word to you, this is like my advice to you, trust yourself more. And I see a lot of pitch decks, and you know what the exit strategy is? The exit strategy is always like someone from a global player will come and buy us. Why? Why not you become the global player? Like, you should believe in yourself, guys. I think, and this I'm repeating a lot, the amount of talents that we have currently in this region, with everything, Saudi is facilitating the visa. Everyone can now comes to Saudi. UAE the same. If you think about Turkey, the same thing. Like, guys, like, and people loves our countries because we have nice weather, and inside in the Gulf countries we have the safety also as well, and you have the lifestyle, and you have all this. So we have real talents here, and the local talents are even like they studied abroad and they know this. I don't know what happens when they come here. They become like more of thinking globally and locally, and we need to stop also one thing. To hesitate that we can do it. Like, I think this is one of the main obstacles I see now. And even to your point, yes, some of the names that they became kind of global. I wish I see, Shehab, more of these startups that start something that the globals will follow, right? I know, and I've seen like there's a very famous interview with Aramex founder Fadi Gandour, and he said there's nothing wrong of taking something from the West and applying here, and this is what he did with Aramex, and this is what Karim they did, and the other and other and other. I agree, and it was good move, and Souk.com, of course, and Amazon, they bought it. I agree. We needed that because no one was doing anything related to startups. But I think we reach a stage now that yes, that was needed. That was a stepping stone in starting the startup culture in the region. But now I think we should take a different approach and become like more audacious, I would say, more courageous to go out. And I know there are a lot of talents here. Shehab, really, I enjoyed the conversation today. Final things before we close, where people can find more about you and get in touch.
Lovely. So people can visit my website, www.shehabberam.com. I do have live chat feature there. You can even visit my LinkedIn from there, which is under the name of, obviously, my name, Shehab Beram.
Great. Shehab, really, I enjoyed the conversation and all the insights. I hope this will inspire local product managers. It will inspire founders also as well to think, on a global level. So thank you very much for being with me here today. And this is the way I end my my episode. This is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. If you like it, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. We need your love and support. And if you are one of the loyal followers, thank you for keep sending me your suggestions, your comments. I read them all. Let them keep coming, please. So I really enjoy reading all of that. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be again in a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.